show where we answer all your stock-related queries. But first up, a check on the markets. Not looking too good for the Nifty, Sensex, as well as the mid-cap index and the Nifty Bank. The Nifty now firmly below the 200-day moving average of 10,782. Currently sitting with a cut of 150 points, 430 points shaved off the Sensex, as well as the mid-cap index and the Nifty Bank sitting with cuts of almost 200 to 250 points. What's not doing well are all the auto stocks. The biggest loser on the Nifty right now is Eicher Motors, lower by about 7% on account of weak Royal Enfield sales, currently extending its cut at the low point of the day with almost about 8% shaved off. Hi, Ekta.
Hi Manglam, yes absolutely, and I think a lot of it is to do with the globe as well. So if you pull up the Dow futures, that's showing a cut of over around 440 odd points as we speak. So the Dow futures is significantly lower at this point, and separately we do have the likes of the UK, the European markets, which will be opening as well today. So that will be important to watch out for. But in any case, I just want to point out that besides Eicher Motors, it's also stocks such as Maruti Suzuki, which is down around 2.5%. We've seen the weakness which is actually seeped into the currency as well, and that was the European markets which just came by for you. So all of those indices in the red at this point. So it's sectorally weak at this point. It is banks such as IndusInd Bank which are in the red. It is Maruti which is down 2.5%, Eicher Motors, Reliance Industries. So the weakness is really across the board at this point in time, and maybe this would be indicative of what the trend of the market would be, considering it the holiday season or the couple of days of light trading is probably behind us now. Take you through the top stories, and then we're going to get answering all of your queries as well. Markets trade at the day's low after a sharp fall in the past 1 hour of trade. Nifty tests 10,800 as heavyweights such as Reliance and HDFC Twins hurt the most. Mid caps and banks also near the day's low.
Eicher Motors, top loser on the Nifty today after Royal Enfield sales disappoint in December. Mahindra & Mahindra too falls 4%, second day in a row. Pawan Goenka tells CNBC TV 18 that November and December were used to sell off piled up inventory, and he expects some turnaround in the fourth quarter.
More stocks reacting to weak December sales. So Hero Moto falls around 2.5% after total sales come in lower than expected. Pawan Munjal says there is an urgent need to reduce GST on two-wheelers from 28% to 18%.
PSU banks are in focus after the RBI allows one-time restructuring of MSME loans not exceeding 25 crore rupees. The experts say RBI's MSME forbearance will impact to the tune of 10 to 13 lakh crores of bank loans. Ikra tells CNBC TV 18 that this forbearance can spoil credit culture.
Metal stocks lose on fears of a slowdown after the Chinese manufacturing PMI contracts. For the first time since May 2017, CLSA downgrades most metal stocks today, cuts the FY 2021 EPS for Indian metal companies by 9 to 38%. Okay, so those are all the top stories that we're tracking. But joining us this afternoon, we have Gaurang Shah, who's joining in on the fundamentals, and Rajat Bose to answer all of your technical queries. Gaurang as well as Rajat, afternoon. Let's get going in terms of the first question that we have. Rahul D calls us from Mumbai, and he has a question. He has investments in Sadbhav. Hi, Rahul.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon. Tell us.
Yeah, so I'm holding basically 200 shares of Sadbhav Engineering. My purchase price was 415. So considering the current market price of 207 or 208, so what should be my strategy going forward in this?
Okay, how long are you okay with holding it for?
Yeah, so I have a long-term view in this.
Long-term would be at least 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Gaurang, what would you recommend? Sitting on a loss, significant loss for Sadbhav Engineering at this time for Rahul. He's bought 200 shares at 415. What would you recommend on it?
Thank you, Ekta, and good afternoon to all of you all. So firstly, with the 2 to 3 year time horizon, we have a hold on the stock. And the fact that he got in at 400 plus and the stock is trading at about 200, 210, that means you are 50% down in your capital. So if you have investable capital, my advice would be, a strong advice would be to average given the price correction, because if you stay invested at elevated level, I think it's going to be extremely difficult for you to achieve the price that you got invested and thereafter that making profit, because it's going to be a tall order for the company to climb. But given a 50% correction and a fundamental long-term buy call on Sadbhav Engineering, first of all, hold on to it and average maybe at least 50, 60, 70% of the total quantity that you hold, or maybe even 100%, even if you can, if you have investable amount, I would advise you to average.
All right, fair point there, Rahul. So Gaurang's view is that if you do have investable capital, go ahead and average it at these levels, given the sort of price correction that has been witnessed in Sadbhav Engineering. Meanwhile, an eye out on a couple of stocks. We have Tata Global Beverages at the low point of the day. Raymond too has slipped to the low point of the day. And TVS Motors, the auto sales numbers did not look good, the domestic front especially, and that stock has accentuated its fall, currently sitting with a cut of about 5%. So not looking good in terms of the mid-cap space, which is now extended its cut to about 240, 250 points just in the last 15 odd minutes from 200 points. Mr. S. Kannan writes to us from Chennai, holds about 500 shares of Meghmani Organics at 72 rupees for the last 2 months, is a medium-term investor, wants to know whether to hold or sell. Rajat, from the charts perspective, how does Meghmani Organics look?
See, Meghmani Organics has been in a downtrend for most of last year, that is 2018, and there are still no signs, no strong technical signs to suggest that it is going for a rebound anytime soon. So my suggestion would be to seek an exit and invest this money elsewhere. And what I find is that this stock comes up with some rallies in between, and those rallies become suckers rallies, and the stock continues to fall. So unless fundamentals are improving, I don't really see any reason that one should continue with it. I suggest an exit, but if Gaurang can say that fundamentals are improving, then that's a different story altogether. But in that case, it has to cross 75 decisively.
All right, Gaurang, your view on the fundamentals of Meghmani. I remember there being some issue with regards to the promoter allocating some sort of shares to one of its subsidiaries.
So the problem, Mangalam, with certain broader market shares like this one is the huge corporate governance hangover. And I agree with Rajat. First of all, I think it's going to be a very tall order for the stock to recover. And if you actually go to see from the start of the year, I beg your pardon, from last Jan 2018 till date, the stock has corrected from 123 to 60 levels. But this itself speaks in terms of the weakness that is exhibiting on the counter. I mean, either at current levels or maybe on pullbacks, if the investor can switch, my advice would be to look at Federal Bank from the private sector bank, which after correcting to 70, 75, consolidating, making a strong base, has moved up to beyond 90. In the recent times. So I think that's a better place to get invested, and there is a possibility that whatever losses you are incurring on Meghmani Organics could be recouped if you make a switch to Federal Bank from a long-term point of view.
Okay, all right. Meghmani has obviously underperformed significantly on a year-on-year basis, losing over around 40%. In fact, you can see that on your screen. Let's get to another query now. We have Mrs. Shishmita Mitra, who writes to us from Pune. She holds 1,000 shares of Nagarjuna Fertilizers at 24.68 rupees. And since the past 1 year, long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell that particular stock. Gaurang, what would you recommend on this Nagarjuna Fertilizer sitting on a loss? From a long-term perspective or maybe even medium-term perspective, do the prospects look encouraging?
No, the problem, Ekta, is that when you let your capital erode like this, it becomes extremely difficult to make any kind of changes and then put in a strategy in place. So I would again repeat myself, don't let your capital erode to this extent. You bought it at 25 odd rupees and the stock is trading at 8 rupees 55 paise. I think it's a no-brainer. First of all, you got invested into a sector which is a very difficult one, urea fertilizer. And in that sector, you chose a stock which is one of the weakest stock. So again, would prefer something like a GSFC from a long-term point of view. I don't know if Rajat can help on any kind of pullbacks from the level where it is. But at current levels on pullback, I would advise to make a switch to a GSFC from a long-term point of view.
All right. So Rajat, he's hoping for a pullback before, basically just to cut his losses, which have been more than 60-65% of his capital. Do you see any pullback in Nagarjuna Fertilizer?
if technical oscillators are to be believed, then there is a possibility that there could be a pullback shortly, and that would at least make it test the 200 exponential moving average, which is around 12 level. But till such time it takes out the 200 exponential moving average decisively, we cannot project on the higher side. But the good thing has it on technicals is that both the daily and the weekly charts are suggesting that a pullback is imminent. Anytime going forward, this pullback can start. So I would suggest hold on for now. See on a pullback, if it takes out 12, then you carry on. Otherwise, around 12 you exit and choose any stock that you like. That would be better. But don't exit at these levels.
Okay, all right. So that's on Nagarjuna Fertilizer. Again, quite an underperformer coming in there. Santosh now writes to us from Tamil Nadu. He holds 104 shares of DHFL at 267 since a month. And he's a short-term investor and he wants to know whether to hold or sell. Rajat, what would you recommend? Obviously, DHFL has, suffered from a lot of downside because of many rumors and because of the liquidity crunch, etc. But in any case, do you think that it will at least bounce back to his buy price?
Perhaps this question can be used as a classic case to illustrate the folly of buying in resistance zone. 260 to about 280 has become a strong resistance zone for Dewan housing, and if the investor says that he has bought it a month back, that means that he has actually bought after the major fall. So this was when we get greedy, that things are actually turning better and you enter into that. So I would suggest that as of now there is little possibility that Dewan will take out the 260 to 280 zone. So on any rally, sell on rallies would be my suggestion. I really don't find any reason that you should stay invested in.
All right, sell on rallies as far as DHFL is concerned. Meanwhile, we take a short break with the news that we are seeing some cuts in a lot of the names. Reliance Group stocks, the ADAG Group stock should come up for you. We have Reliance Communications at the low point of the day, Reliance Capital as well as Reliance Power, all of them extending their cuts. And with that, we have Container Corp 2, which is currently at the low point of.
Well, you're still with your stocks on CNBC TV 18. Mid-cap index is down around 1.18%. Nifty also quite pressured, so around 150 points lower. Let's get in another query now. Mr. R. Mohan writes to us from Bangalore. He holds 1,000 shares of Quality at 60 rupees since 1 year. Short-term investor. Wants to know whether to hold or sell that stock. Well, Mangalam, you've done quite a bit of work on Quality and the stock and the kind of the fall that we've seen in that one.
Absolutely. So, there was a lot of weakness in their financials. The cash that the company was holding was actually nothing but just a lot of checks that they had. Even if you take a look at their balance sheet and the results that they reported the second quarter, the company posted a massive amount of loss in excess of 2,000 crores. And our viewer was perhaps a short-term investor, bought it for a pop and is now holding on to it because of the price damage. Gaurang, your view on the quality of Quality? It's now 8 rupees. The viewers bought it at 60 rupees.
So, Mangalam, I think you summed it up very well. There is no quality in Quality. And for the last 1 year, the stock is down 92%. And the problem with investors is they get invested into such stocks at 60 rupees and at 8 rupees they are still wondering what to do with it. I think there should be some amount of awareness and discipline while you invest into stock market. And more importantly, I think such kind of stocks are highly avoidable. They are only wealth destroyers rather than wealth creators. So, I mean, we don't cover such stocks, so I can't comment fundamentally. But humble request to all your viewers, don't try to do any kind of value buying, bottom fishing or momentum buying in stocks like this.
Absolutely. Well, a 92% fall that you've seen just in the span of 1 year for Quality.
But time and again, we also, kept questioning the management on various things that the company did, including a buyback plan that they had. They had no answers to that. So, one doesn't really know what to say, but apart from empathize with the viewers' loss.
Yes, and it's been a tough year for a lot of these mid-cap companies, and Quality probably stands in one of the top few which has in fact, eroded wealth for a lot of shareholders. And that's the update coming in on the rupee as well, so just watch out for that. Let's shift focus now. Ashwin Naik calls us from UAE with a query. He has investments in Tata Elxsi. Hi, Ashwin.
Hi, good afternoon all.
Afternoon. Go ahead.
Yeah. I purchased Tata Elxsi 50 shares at 1,005 rupees last week. I would like to know on the, your concern on this short term regarding it.
Okay, short term. So how long are you okay with holding it for? A few weeks, few months, a year?
4 weeks to 6 weeks.
Okay, just 4 to 6 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Rajat, what would you recommend on Tata Elxsi? Ashwin just wants to hold it for 4 to 6 weeks. He's marginally in the money now. Do you think there's more upside, or he should probably book out?
I would say on rallies one should book out, because this is a range-bound counter for the last 3 months, and given that it is coming closer to the higher end of the range, above 1,050 to 1,100 is the higher range of the range. Considering that, I would say one should exit, because the sentiment in IT stocks is not that great, and immediately crossing 1,100 might be a tall order for Tata Elxsi. So one can sell on rallies, book one's profits. That would be better.
All right, sell on rallies, book your profit in Tata Elxsi, especially if you're holding for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Meanwhile, Voltas is the stock which is down about 3.5% at the lows of the day. Along with that, we have Tata Global Beverages as well. So consumer discretionaries as well as staples not doing too well, both of them at the low point of the day. That is Voltas 3.5% lower, and Tata Global Beverages again 2.5% lower as we speak. Another query we have it coming in from Mrs. Barida Patnaik, who writes to us from Jammu and Kashmir. Was about 25 shares of Quest Corp for the last 2 months. Her buy price is closer to the 700 rupees per share mark. Medium-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Gaurang, your view on Quest Corp, a human resource company. They are specializing into specialized human resource services, growing via acquisitions, and it's a Premastha invested company. Your view would be what?
So Mangalam, it's one of those few companies which does not have any peer comparison if you actually go to see. And since the time it got listed, I tracked the company then. Because recently we don't have any fundamental coverage, so I can't comment on the buy, sell and hold aspect. But different and an innovative company with, I think, earnings visibility. But since the regulation doesn't permit me to comment, I can't comment buy, sell and hold.
All right, Rajat, while fundamentally he is saying it's a good company, price-wise it's seen a bit of a correction. So chartically, how does Quest Corp hold?
I would say it has been on a downtrend since early 2018, and that time that stock was priced around 1,300, and from there it went below 500, and then there had been record volumes, and there is some recovery there. But if one wants to hold it, then one should put a stop loss below 630 if it is an investment. Otherwise, stop loss at 670 would be the case for a trading bet. But point is this, that till such time this stock takes out 750 to 800 major resistance zone, one should not bet that there will be an imminent recovery.
Okay, all right. So that's on Quest Corp. Let's get in another query now. We have Akash, who writes to us from Karnataka. He holds 425 shares of Bajaj Hindustan Sugar at 11.87 rupees, and since the past 2 months. And he's a long-term investor and wants to know whether to hold or sell that particular stock. Tough call, considering that anyway that stock is currently at around 9 odd rupees. But what would you recommend, Gaurang, on Bajaj Hindustan?
Well, Ekta, the only stock we covered in the sugar sector was Balrampur Chini. And after it achieved our target price, we actually dropped the stock because this sugar sector does not excite us at all. More importantly, with the kind of government policies that intervene and volatility that comes in, brings in a lot of uncertainty. Yes, I do agree, Ekta, that there was time when these stocks would have given you 50, 60, 100% return. But my sense is those days are gone. So sector itself is highly avoidable. Move into a mid-cap FMCG stock, something like a Maric or a Dabur, That's where I think money is to be made for the next 1.5 to 2 year kind of time horizon.
All right, Gaurang and Rajat, thanks a lot for stopping by and answering all our viewers' queries. We take your leave on that note. Take a short break, come back, and we focus on some more stocks as well as the markets, which are currently low by about 150 points on the Nifty, closer to 460 points on the Sensex.